They thought the old man in shabby shoes was just another poor guy who had wandered into their luxurious car dealership. Their jokes cut like knives, and their words left deep wounds. But by tomorrow their laughter will turn to fear because this poor guy came to turn their world upside down once and for all. The soft chime of the doorbell echoed through the sleek showroom as Henry Williams, 72, stepped into Rosewood Luxury Motors *. His scuffed loafers and neatly pressed blazer reflected a man of quiet confidence, someone who valued substance over style. Henry had spent years building his life on hard work and resilience, and now, retired, he was finally ready to treat himself to a luxury sedan for long-planned road trips. But to the salesman lounging near the counter, Henry wasn't a customer, he was entertainment. "Did someone leave the service door open?" muttered a wiry man with slicked-back hair to his broad-shouldered colleague. Their snickers were loud enough to carry across the room, but Henry ignored them. He was used to this kind of disrespect. He turned his attention to a gleaming black sedan under a spotlight. It was everything he wanted: elegant, reliable, and powerful. "Excuse me," Henry said, his voice calm as he gestured toward the car. "Could you tell me about this model?" The wiry man sauntered over, his smirk widening with each step. "Oh, this car?" he said, dragging out the words. "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place? This isn't the used lot." Henry held his gaze. "Yes, I'm sure. Now about the car." Before he could finish, the broad-shouldered man joined in. "Starts at $95,000, just so you know," he said, crossing his arms. "You sure you're not wasting your time here, Grandpa?" Their laughter echoed through the showroom, unapologetic and loud. Henry adjusted his scarf, keeping his composure. "I'd like to hear about the features," he said, his tone steady. The wiry man threw up his hands in mock surrender. "All right, let's humor the guy. V8 engine, leather seats, touchscreen display, basically everything you're not used to." His colleague added with a snort, "Hey, maybe he's been saving up bottle deposits since the '80s. Gotta respect that ghetto hustle, right?" Henry's jaw tightened, but he didn't let it show. "Respect isn't optional," he said firmly. "I suggest you adjust your attitude." "Respect?" The wiry one raised an eyebrow. "Big word for someone who probably took the bus here." "Yeah," the broad-shouldered man said, stepping closer. "Respect is earned, Grandpa, and I don't think you've earned it." Henry turned back to the sedan, trying to focus on its sleek lines instead of the escalating insults. But they weren't done. "Hey, Pops," the wiry one called out. "Maybe a tricycle's more your speed. No gas, no insurance. Perfect for someone on a budget." Henry exhaled deeply, his patience wearing thin. "And the warranty?" he asked, ignoring the taunts. The broad-shouldered man burst out laughing. "Warranty? Man, the only thing you've got a warranty on is your walker." The laughter spread, now joined by the receptionist. Henry noticed a few customers discreetly raising their phones, recording the scene. He straightened his blazer, silently counting to 3, and moved toward another car. But the broad-shouldered man deliberately stepped into his path, bumping Henry's shoulder. "Oops," he said with a smirk. "Didn't see you there." Henry stopped, meeting his gaze. "Watch yourself," he warned, his tone low but firm. "Relax, old man," the wiry one chimed in. "We're just having fun. Don't be so sensitive." "Besides," his colleague added, "you're scaring off the real customers." Henry's hands clenched at his sides, but his face remained composed. He adjusted his scarf, looked them both in the eye, and said, "I'll be leaving now." "Don't let us stop you," the wiry one called after him as Henry walked to the door. "Come back when you've got a real wallet." The glass doors slid shut behind him, cutting off their laughter. Henry paused outside, letting the cold air calm his racing heart. He'd faced worse in his lifetime, but this humiliation lingered sharp and stinging. Inside, the staff laughed and joked, oblivious to the trouble they'd just invited. The next morning, the usual bustle filled Rosewood Luxury Motors *. Salesmen lounged around, sipping coffee and scrolling through their phones. The wiry salesman leaned back in his chair, grinning as he replayed a video on his phone, the one where he and his colleagues mocked an elderly customer. The clip was picking up steam online, and while the comments weren't kind, he found the outrage amusing. "Look at this," he said, shoving his phone toward his colleague. They're calling us a disgraceful. Like we're supposed to roll out a red carpet for every random guy who wanders in." The broad-shouldered salesman chuckled. "Let them complain. That guy wasn't buying anything anyway. We just saved him the embarrassment." Their laughter was cut short when the manager's office door swung open. Their boss stepped out, his face set in a grim scowl. "Conference room. Now," he barked, his tone sharp enough to make even the most complacent salesman sit up straight. Murmurs rippled through the group as they filed into the room. The air felt tense, charged with something none of them could yet identify. They settled into their chairs, exchanging puzzled glances. The manager stood by the head of the table, arms crossed. "We have a guest today," he said, his voice tight. "Please give them your attention." The door opened and Henry Williams stepped inside. This wasn't the man they had mocked the day before. Gone were the scuffed shoes and simple blazer. Today, Henry wore a sharp suit and carried himself with quiet authority. His presence filled the room, commanding respect without a word. The salesman froze. The wiry man's smirk disappeared instantly, and his broad-shouldered colleague shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Good morning," Henry said evenly. His voice was calm but carried an edge that demanded attention. He placed a folder on the table and took his time surveying the room. "I believe some of you remember me." The wiry salesman's voice wavered. "Sir, what's going on here?" The manager cleared his throat. "Allow me to introduce Mr. Henry Williams," he said. "As of last night, Mr. Williams is the new owner of Rosewood Luxury Motors *." The room fell into stunned silence. Eyes widened, mouths gaped, and nervous glances darted toward the exits. The wiry salesman seemed to shrink in his seat, while the broad-shouldered one visibly tensed. Henry leaned forward slightly, his hands resting on the table. "Yesterday I walked into this dealership as a customer," he began, his voice steady but firm. "What I experienced was not just poor service, it was outright disrespect. Your behavior wasn't just unprofessional, it was disgraceful." He opened the folder, pulling out a set of neatly arranged documents. "As of now, I own this dealership. And let me make one thing clear. The way things have been done here is over." The wiry salesman's bravado cracked. "Sir, we didn't mean—" Henry's sharp gaze stopped him mid-sentence. "Didn't mean what? To insult me? To humiliate me in front of others? Because that's exactly what you did." The room was suffocatingly quiet. Henry turned his attention to the wiry man. "You're fired. Effective immediately." The salesman's face turned pale. "Wait, please, Henry didn't let him finish. "And you," he said, shifting his gaze to the broad-shouldered salesman. "You're fired as well. Collect your things and leave." The manager nodded toward the door. "You heard him." The two men sat frozen for a moment before standing, heads bowed and shuffling out of the room. The remaining staff looked on, their expressions a mix of shock and unease. Henry straightened in his chair, addressing the rest of the group. "For those of you who remain, you have a choice. If you're willing to change, to create a culture of respect and professionalism, you'll have a place here. If not, let me know now, and we'll part ways." Silence hung heavy in the air, but no one spoke. Henry gave a single nod. "Good, let's get to work." The days following Henry Williams's takeover of Rosewood Luxury Motors were anything but ordinary. The viral video of his mistreatment and the subsequent firing of two salesmen had taken the internet by storm. Social media lit up with outrage, with thousands of comments condemning the behavior of the staff and praising Henry's poise. News outlets picked up the story, framing it as a tale of triumph and justice. Inside the dealership, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Henry wasted no time in implementing changes. His first move was to schedule a meeting with the remaining staff, where he laid out his vision. "This place will be different," Henry began, standing at the head of the room. "Not just because of what happened to me, but because I believe in fairness and respect for everyone who walks through that door." The team listened intently, some nodding in agreement, others still unsure of how to adapt to the new expectations. Henry's focus was clear. Rebuild the dealership's reputation, starting with its culture. He hired a new general manager, someone with a reputation for integrity and leadership. The staff underwent intensive customer service training, emphasizing empathy, patience, and professionalism. Henry also implemented a system for customer feedback, ensuring accountability at every level. Meanwhile, the dealership's transformation wasn't going unnoticed. Customers who had once avoided the showroom now began visiting out of curiosity and stayed because of the exceptional service. One day, a woman in her 60s approached Henry, recognizing him from the news. "Mr. Williams," she said, extending her hand, "I just wanted to thank you. What you did here, it's inspiring. People like me have experienced what you went through, but not everyone gets a chance to stand up like that." Henry smiled warmly. "Thank you. This isn't just about me. It's about making things better for everyone." As word spread, sales began to climb. People traveled from nearby towns to support Henry's vision, eager to see the dealership that had become a symbol of change. The once toxic workplace now buzzed with positivity, and even the remaining employees, who had been skeptical at first, embraced the new standards. But Henry didn't stop there. He partnered with local charities, organizing events to provide car repair services for underprivileged families. The community rallied around these efforts, cementing the dealership's new reputation as a place that cared not just about profit, but about people. One day, as Henry sat in his newly refurbished office, he reflected on how far things had come. The dealership, once a source of humiliation, was now a thriving business and a beacon of respect. But for Henry, it wasn't about revenge, it was about proving that dignity and perseverance could change even the most hostile environments. And as he looked out the window at the bustling showroom, Henry knew one thing for certain. Rosewood Luxury Motors wasn't just a dealership anymore. It was a testament to the power of standing tall in the face of disrespect and turning adversity into opportunity.